What's going on, everybody? It's Aurora coming at you with a brand new video, and I almost completely forgot to make this because I was busy camera shopping, but today it looks like we've gotten Horus support, and it makes me a bit nervous because I'm not sure if this is like a Horus archetype, or if this is support for Horus the Black Flame Dragon, and while level archetypes, even with retrains, haven't really been the best, see Armed Dragon, Thunder, whatever, I really don't think it's a good idea to support a walking Imperial Order when people were begging their regular Imperial Order and Anti-Spell to be banned. But regardless, there are 6 new cards here out of Age of Overlord, and I suppose we should get right to them. Starting us off, we have Horus, this is Imseti, Glory of Horus. This is a Dark Spellcaster, level 8 with 3000 attack and 1800 defense. And you can only special it with its first effect once per turn, and you can only use the second and third effects once per turn. If you control Pharaonic Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. You can send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, including this card, to add a Pharaonic Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, then draw 1 card. And if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. So even without the context for what Pharaonic Sarcophagus does or any of the other cards in the archetype, I think this is a really solid card overall. I'm going to assume Sarcophagus is like a field spell or something like that, and so to be able to discard something, potentially triggering the effect or get something engraved that you want engraved, add your thing that you need for the deck to function, and drawing a card to replace the other card you sent, this can be really good for deck thinning and just digging for power cards. I'd honestly almost call this an engage if it wasn't an equal trade. And then the summoning condition, especially considering you're adding the Sarcophagus and sending it to the grave at the same time, really easy to pull off. And then the third effect is a solid piece of removal as well. Reminds me a lot of, God, what was I trying to say? I think the Rescue Ace Turbulence. Honestly, even without the context for everything else, this seems like a pretty solid start to the deck. Next up, we have Duamatef, Blessing of Horus. Is a water beast, level 8 with 0 attack and defense. You can only special it with its first effect once per turn. You can only use the third effect of it once per turn. If you control Sarcophagus, you can special it from grave. So, okay, the first effect, or not first effects, the second effect of the first one is actually going to be really good for putting this in grave as well. It gains 1200 attack and defense for each Horus monster you control, so bare minimum 1200 on its own. And if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters with different names in your main monster zone. So more deck digging here. It's a free big body from your graveyard. You're almost always going to have this at bare minimum 2400 just from like pitching it off the Imseti and also itself, and this can probably dig you for a lot of hand traps, as can Imseti's draw effect. Next up, we have Happy, Vanguard of Horus. This is a Wind Beast Warrior, level 8 with 2400 attack and 1600 defense. You can only special it with its first effect once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. If you control Sarcophagus, you can special it from your graveyard, and if another card you control leaves field by an opponent's card effect while you control this monster, you can target 2 cards that are banished and or in the graveyards, either add both to their owner's hand or shuffle both into the deck. This seems like very specific countering to certain decks. Like, I'm not quite sure how good this would be. It might be good for the rest of the cards in the archetype in case you're banishing or dumping more things that you want to add back to your hand, because to be fair, this can add back Imseti, but a lot of the time, if you don't have enough targets that you would like really want to add back to your hand, you might have to give your opponent stuff, which is pretty bad. I honestly don't see this as more of like a 1, maybe 2 of. The final monster so far is, oh dear god, Kebesnuef, Aegis of Horus. This is an Earthwing Beast with level 8 with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. You can only special it with the first effect once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. If you control Sarcophagus, you can special it from your grave, and if another card leaves the field, blah blah blah, you can activate this effect. This turn, your opponent's monsters cannot target Horus monsters on the field for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target them with card effects. I mean, pretty decent protection, but it does kind of suck that it's a trigger effect protection as opposed to just a blanket protection, because they can just hit things before they remove a card that you control by an effect, which, by the way, it actually seems a bit specific that the card has to leave your field by the opponent's card effect. Like, that it just seems a bit too specific for me. Not to mention, this is the last monster, and they're all level 8s, which, yeah, they can all special themselves from grave, but if you don't open specifically Imseti, so far, it looks like it's going to be a really big problem breaking in this archetype. But regardless, starting off, we finally have Pharaonic Sarcophagus, and this actually isn't a field spell, this is a continuous spell. This is, you can only use the second effect of it up to 4 times per turn. Is that the first card that says 4 times per turn instead of thrice? That's kind of cool. It says Horus monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects unless they target them. Okay, so that's why this has the targeting protection. And you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard to send one Horus monster from your deck to the graveyard, and once per turn at the start of the damage step, if your Horus monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send that opponent's monster to the graveyard. This card seems fine overall. I mean, blanket protection on a continuous spell is always pretty decent, especially when it has other effects. Sending a card from your hand to the grave that also dumps another Horus from your deck to the grave can start you off for some of your plays. Not to mention, by the way, rank 8s are probably going to be very important in this archetype. And then the third effect, while I do wish that these guys were worded in which this would also help, like if you make a card leave the field, that would be awesome if those could trigger off of this as well, but even if they can't, it's still pretty good to get a free send. And for the trap card of this archetype, we have Canopic Protector. There's a continuous trap that says you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon one Horus monster from your hand or graveyard, and if you do, this turn, you cannot special summon another monster with the same original name with the effect of Canopic Protector. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can set it, but banish it when it leaves the field. Alright, before we get into this, I just remembered this effect is up to 4 times per turn. So if you open Sarcophagus, you literally get access to every single Horus monster. That's cool. Moving back to Canopic Protector though, this actually seems pretty damn nice. The first effect is basically a branded retribution, but you can use it multiple times per turn, basically 4 times, because there's 4 Horus monsters. And then the second effect, you're going to be sending it probably a lot, because while you aren't going to dump it from the deck off of Sarcophagus, you can send it from hand, and of course you can send it from hand off of like literally any of these. Sorry, not any of these, just Imseti, but you know what I mean. And even when it's banished, you can still grab it back off of your Happy, which also is pretty cool. Alright, well that's going to do it for the Horus archetype. So first thoughts, thank God it's not support for Horus the Black Flame Dragon, I would have cried. But I honestly think this is a pretty neat strategy. So unfortunately, because it is a level 8 spam strategy, or spam kinda, it's probably going to boil down mostly to just going for Jaglubi on OTKs, but I think that's fine. A lot of rank 8 archetypes that are lesser on the end of the strength level honestly kind of deserve it. I like that they're really, really recursive. Literally all of them special themselves from the grave. A lot of them have ways to send themselves to the grave. Sarcophagus is literally 4 times per turn to dump from your hand and from your deck. You got some pretty solid protection with the Keb, I'm just going to call it Keb, and then the third effect on here, or sorry, first effect on here, and then the third effect as well on here is really good for board breaking. They're all decently sized. I mean, 2500, 2400, this one can get up to 12, 24, 36, 4800 most of the time, and then Imseti, of course, being 3000. I think that for now, it definitely feels a little bit unfinished. We'll definitely see more waves in the future, perhaps even in this core set after this one. But I think right now it can show potential. I do hope, though, that they do get a main deck low-level monster, because, yeah, while all of these can special summon themselves, depending on what hand you open, they're all going to be sitting there dead. Maybe you can supplement that by having, like, a danger package, because, yeah, while they won't trigger from being sent off of your Imseti or off of Pharaonic Sarcophagus, it can help you dig for those cards, which is really, really important. I don't know, though, that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below, because that's going to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like, as I'll put this video and the channel into recommended. And if you like this content and you want to see more like it, like the rest of my review series, perhaps consider subscribing, because I want to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. Not to mention, it supports the channel more than anything else, and it's absolutely free. Also, if you want to support me directly while also getting some awesome TCG merchandise in the process, check out Tapio cards in the link in the description, use code Aurora5 at checkout for 5% off your purchase, and to support me financially. Speaking of Tapio cards, if you check out my Yang Zing Sleeper Sunday for this month, then you can have the chance to enter a giveaway for a free Ghost Rick Spectre hat. It's an awesome hat, and I'm hoping we can get some more people to join the giveaway. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.